Welcome, Alexander, to the Awakening Legacy podcast series.
Wonderful.
It's great to have you here as one of the authors in the Awakening Legacy book. So today we're going to chat about your chapter and beyond. Your chapter and beyond, to infinity and beyond.
Oh my God. We've got 20 minutes, we're going to cover all that.
Yeah, in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
Infinity and beyond. Here we go. Set the rockets.
So, my first question to you is, why did you get involved with this project in the first place? Like, what was it that drew you to it and sparked your interest? Do you see how I use the word spark?
Okay. Hey. Professional.
I know. Alexander's chapter is called A Spark for a Spark. Yeah. So that's one.
Okay. So I was drawn by your spark. Yeah. And as I get drawn by things that spark in life, that's what fills me with wonder and question. What makes that a spark?
Yeah.
So I'm less interested in why it's not working out. It doesn't even get onto my register. But what's working, and laughter, light, and love is continually moves me to ask questions about, and sometimes they're awkward, deep questions, and sometimes they're silly questions. And I don't make apology for any of them. This is who I am. And that's kind of what I hope for when I speak to people, is I'm really interested in getting quite quickly to who they are. We all have our masks and they serve various purposes. But in terms of my communication, I'm interested in going beneath the mask. So I can ask questions that will quite quickly go there, not because I have a divisive mind as such, but actually, I'm motivated by the wonder of life. And so I'm curious about how do you add to this? You Sarah, you whoever, how do I add to it? So when I'm on, it's easy. It's easier than when I'm off.
Yes. But isn't that just life?
Yes, it is. And we always have a choice.
Yes.
That's important to remember.
Yeah.
We've got a choice. And, if I were to be simple about it, I'd say we choose between love and fear. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And so the most terrible things that can happen to us, if you have a different view, a different perspective on them, they become less terrible. If you think, oh, here we go again, then you're adding to the tragedy and you're adding to the how it takes you down, rather than actually, hold on, what do I want from life? Now, quite quickly, it's easy for me to go to, I had a stroke about 1.5 years ago. And from that, I realized that I'm more interested in what affirms life than what doesn't affirm life. That's what I put my energy, my spark into.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to anyone, I'm quite interested in who they are as a spark of life. And so I'll ask questions about that. And even if that questions goes deep and dirty, I'll ask those questions, right? Rather than play around. I'm a big fan for playing around, but also the stuff to be looked at, the stuff to be faced up to. So it's not an evasive question to bring laughter, love, and light. Yeah.
I'm just going to put light on. So,
oh my God,
we've got set up here.
No, that's not a light. It's a whole glamour function.
just try and balance the light in from the window.
Okay.
Hopefully, people are going to be able to see this as well as listen to it.
Okay.
So I'm just popping that on. So, it's so interesting what you say about so much in what you just said, but that connection with the other people's spark.
Yeah.
but also that, because I know you're a coach, right? And you've coached people for a long time, and that's what coaches do. Ask those questions, those uncomfortable questions that get beneath the surface, and
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes that is my experience when I have also been coached, but I am always hoping for the questioner, the coach, to ask me something I don't have an answer for. Because that I move into a different realm. I'm quite clever at going around the question.
Yeah.
And so I can spot it from 60 yards if somebody that's doing that.
We're all good at that.
So I'm really interested in what makes you a person. No, it seems blasé and boring to say that, but how do you add to life? How do you whatever you do? One of the pertinent questions has come up this last week. As I'm coaching a group of people, I won't say who, and I think I'm on it with my questions. My colleagues might say, I'm not sure you're on it anymore. And I think I'm on it more, especially if I'm making the person feel comfortable. Whereas I used to think that my job as a coach was to ask uncomfortable questions and therefore make the person uncomfortable, and therefore I'm doing a good job.
Okay.
I don't think that anymore. I'm much more interested how, from my wealth of knowledge and my wealth of love and understanding, do I bring anyone to a place of wonder? And that's different from uncomfortable. So maybe I have lost it. I don't have that edge anymore, and I don't miss that edge anymore. I'm much more interested in, we've done module 1 of 3 modules, and I want everyone's finished module 1, I think, with a wonder about how they go forward. My next step is to be even more curious, rather, I will allow for uncomfortable places.
Yeah. And that's interesting, that word curiosity.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think that's huge when it comes to wonder. It's huge when it comes to interacting with life from that place of love versus fear.
Yeah.
Because, when we're in fear, we lose our curiosity.
That's right.
Big style, don't we?
Yeah, really.
We're not curious about it, at all, are we?
How do we become curious, wondrous about COVID, for example, rather than think, oh, it's a deadly pandemic and therefore we shouldn't have it, and let's cancel out life until we're back to normal. And I think, whoa, what is it doing? What is this COVID, this pandemic doing in terms of the kind of, how do we wonder about it? How do we engage with it in a meaningful way? So, as a coach, as a person, I'm interested in whatever happens in life meaningfully, and rather than fearfully, not because that's altogether my choice, but as I've got older, it's become my choice.
Well, this is the thing, you were talking about having had a stroke, this pandemic, all this stuff happening, and stuff happens.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
And stuff is happening before the pandemic as well.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff is always happening, right? Yeah. In our lives. So this sense of being curious about that is quite interesting. Yeah.
So in terms of my legacy,
yes,
I'm hoping that what I do evokes curiosity and wonder. That's my legacy.
Yes.
Right. So what is it to have a conversation, whether it's coaching, but in general, what is it to speak to somebody with those in mind, rather than, oh God, whatever fear you might be chasing you. Yeah, because fear is it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it has to be faced down. The quote I am now going to say by Lao Tzu, which is on the front of my Fearless Leadership brochure.
Yeah.
Is that when you are faced with fear, what do? You smile. And I think that's really important, because the first, you might think, oh, I've got to find somewhere safe. I've got to make this fear go away. Actually, it's no big deal. If you can smile, if you can bring warmth and well-being and curiosity to whatever the fear might show itself as. So that's what I think. You know, when I speak to somebody, I don't think the person has to be of a certain mindset, and they don't have to. You know, I'm really curious who they are. And fortunately, I'm not. I've never yet met someone I don't like. I've never yet met anybody I don't like. So you could say, well, I'm lucky. That's my choice. So whether they are a rampant racist or rampant sexist or rampant whatever, that's as it may be. But I'm curious. They were once babies like me.
Yeah.
What motivated them? And that's the place I go to. What motivates you to love life? And there's something will happen that stops that. And I'm not less interested in that. I'm more interested in how do I be participant in encouraging growth. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And what I'm hearing is a sense of meeting people where they're at. Yeah. To facilitate that growth.
Yeah. Yes. Given my understanding, it's just a beautiful world. And not if we get on top of climate change, not if we have less rape, not if we have, all of that is happening in the world that we live in. And it's still a beautiful world. So I'm going to start with that understanding that there's beauty to be had. And I'm curious about where does anybody else experience that beauty? Because even talking about beauty or recognizing it makes it happen.
Well, it's that connecting with the love, the good, and what's there, and seeing it. You know, it sounds like you're saying to seek out the beauty, to see it now, rather than when the challenges we have in this world are fixed, right? It's like being able to have a relationship with that now,
in terms of writing this chapter, this chapter is, I had never been abroad before, never left the UK before. So I had every reason to be fearful of what is it to go to the middle of nowhere, into the aboriginals and all the rest of it. I had every reason for that. But none of that really floated my boat. I became curious from the word go. What is it to go out there with a kind of tabula rasa, as it were? What is it to go out there and say, and ask questions about life? And still, all these years later, I still feel that was seminal to my questioning, coaching, or whatever. What is it that brings you nearer to yourself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. What is it that brings you nearer to yourself?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And we can easily find reasons not to do that and blame other things and other institutions and the way that life is. And it's not to say they're right or wrong, but is it where your energy is? Have you got your energy in place with who you are to look at those things? If you don't, I think if you don't have, and you look at those things, then fear comes out and grabs you.
Yeah. So what do you think people will get from reading your chapter? What do you think the reader will get, or what you hope they might get? Maybe that's a better question.
I hope they become curious. I hope they have what is this guy on about? What is this he's talking about? The questions, I'm hoping that they have fertile questions rather than easy answers. I've never been one for easy answers.
Yeah.
You know, the what I'm hoping is that people who read that are left with a wondrous question at the end.
Yeah, I'm just writing that down so I can put it underneath this podcast.
Okay.
But also,
I'll
get the name of the quote as well from you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fab. Yeah. So I think that's great. You know, this sense of wonder, this sense of curiosity, and of questioning, and coming back to that place of love rather than fear. You know, it sounds like, sorry to interrupt you, but I was just thinking, it's almost like curiosity is like the bridge to the love. You know.
Yeah, it is.
From the fear.
And how do you invent curiosity if you don't have it? And how do you support it if you do? And how do you grow it if it's already there?
Yes.
Curiosity, I think, is the thing. Curiosity.
Yes.
That's my legacy.
Yes, I love it. How do you invent it?
Yeah. How
do you support it?
How do you grow it?
And
how do you grow it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Wow.
So we have gone there in 20 minutes.
We have gone there in 20 minutes. Job done.
Wow.
Boom.
Well done. Well done. You good questions.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
For chatting with us today. If you are wanting to read more, you know, if you're wanting to read Alexander's chapter and the whole book, which has other chapters that will I'm sure spark curiosity for you as well, and connect you with this sense of who you are and this sense of purpose. Now, we didn't use that word purpose in this conversation, but as you were talking earlier on, you know, that idea of the spark and who you are, what your spark is, you know, ultimately is about, connects with your purpose, connects with what gift have you got, you know, to bring to the world through you being in it.
What a question to go to the world with other people. What gift do you bring to the world? Rather than how do you add to the challenge of the world? What gift do you bring? It motivates a lot of what I do.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. We're going to finish there. There are links below this podcast episode. If you want to find out more about the book, more about Alexander, then you can find out there. So thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for coming.
Wonderful.